Napemba, better known as ITS. Napemba, better known as IT. ITS has 3 campuses in Surabaya. ITS Sukolilo as main campus. ITS Manyar its campus vocational study of civil infrastructure engineering. ITS Jokro Aminoto as campus for Master of Management Technology. Occupying a large area of 180 hectares as its main campus. ITS has 20,000 students, 1,000 academic staff, 1,000 non-academic staff, 10 faculties, and 38 departments. ITS has various fields of study, faculties, and strategic study program which are the center of excellence. Faculty of Industrial Technology, Faculty of Marine Technology, Faculty of Electrical Technology, Faculty of Civil, Environmental, and Geoengineering, Faculty of Business and Management Technology, Faculty of Architecture, Design and Planning, Faculty of Information and Communication Technology, Faculty of Mathematics, Computing and Data Science, Faculty of Natural Science, Faculty of Vocational Studies. Study program at ITS consists of vocational program, bachelor program, master program, and doctoral program. ITS also has more than 130 full-time international students and 400 international student mobility short program, K&B program, student exchange, and another programs.
I work with many projects and many assignments, so it's helped me to improve my personal skill and also for communication skill.
There are many things that we have to fulfill, and ITS has been helping me to improve this kind of things. Beside my hard skill, I also have been able to develop my soft skill, which is important for nowadays leadership.
Also with ITS, I had a lot of opportunities to join different events for free, like the Rujak Connect Festival, which was the cooking event, something. Yeah, this is like kind of opportunities that you don't have every day, and it's funny to take part for once, or yeah, it's nice.
ITS inventing many technological innovations that have been acknowledged in various international competitions. These are several national and international achievements by ITS. ITS Central Library is in a 6-story building, with total building area 9,000 meters square. This library, more than 121,000 printed textbooks, more than 10,000 e-books, 10,000 audio-visual data, and 18,000 digital library collections. Besides providing students with the books, the library also provides students with comfort study area, like discussion area, hotspot cafe, computer rent, multi-purposes room, and Indonesia Development Information Services, which connect to the World Bank database. Research and innovation at ITS are geared towards addressing global challenges. Therefore, creative inventions are increasingly being produced by ITS researchers.
If people are talking about logistics and supply chain in Indonesia, we publish papers, we are doing research on transportation modeling, we are doing research on warehouse modeling, and we also do a lot of networking with industries, with companies, and our research has been used in many companies in Indonesia.
We know that Indonesia is the second biggest biodiversity in the world after Brazil, but I think if we combine with our sea area, Indonesia will be the biggest biodiversity in the world. And we do believe that if we perform science of nature and how to utilize it, it is very big opportunity for the treatment of some disease, not only for Indonesian people but also for the world.
Considering the fact that Indonesia has unique climate characteristics, and also Indonesia is also very well known as the laboratory of disaster, therefore a lot of issues, a lot of problems have to be solved. But this is a challenge for us. We cannot work alone. We need to work interdisciplinary, which involve expert, local or internationally. Therefore, we invite all of you to work here with us in ITS. We expect that our contribution and our work will bring ITS as the Center for Excellence in Disaster in Indonesia.
ITS has more than 180 laboratories spread over 10 faculties. The laboratory is used to support faculty and students' research and provides the opportunity to collaborate on big projects and create impactful research programs.
As the institution, I think ITS has contributed a lot in terms of giving ideas and spirit, and at the same time self-confidence to our country about how capable we are.
ITS, within the next 5 years, it would be a research and innovative university. It means that ITS will be playing a big role in the region, especially in Asia. For the next long term, in 2045, ITS would be an entrepreneurial university. Means that it having a big role playing in the global world.
So come and join us
Come and join us.
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 Come and join with us, ITS.
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 Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before we start commence the program, and here are the following webinar protocol. For each participant ID, please use your real name following with your origin of institution. All of participants are expected to mute the audio and only unmute the video during the event. We cordially invite you to take your own firm and comfort seat in your own room, and please avoid the backlight. Make sure that you have a good and stable internet connection. If you have an earphone or headset, we recommend you to use it so that your voice can clearly and loudly to be heard. During the Q&A discussion session, all participants, please use the chat box to deliver the questions. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration.
Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to guest lecture on SDGs today, September 21st, 2021. I'm Raini Aryani from ITS Global Engagement and will be your master of ceremony of this afternoon. Thank you for joining our guest lecture series on SDGs today. And before we start our agenda, let me inform you of some rules for the event. First, please adjust your name or ID screen using format name_campus. Second, during the lecture, please turn off your microphone and only turn on the microphone when the moderator gives the chance. And then please fill your attendance at bit.ly/GLS_attendance, and our committee also send the attendance link in the Zoom chat room. And for participants who wish to get an e-certificate and stamp, please fill the attendance 15 minutes after the session starts. And the last, participant who wish to ask a question during the Q&A session, please send your question via bit.ly/GLS Q&A, and the link for Q&A listed in the chat room as well. Or you can ask directly by clicking the raise hand feature. Today's GLS on SDGs will present a topic entitled Bioprocess Development of Probiotics for Health and Wellness that will be delivered by Dr. Zalina Othman from University Technology Malaysia. And other than that, we will also have a topic entitled Applying Mechanical Engineering Technologies to Medical Application, Diagnosis and Treatment that will be delivered by Dr. Takeda from Hokkaido University. This lecture will be moderated by Bapak Hilman Fatoni from ITS. Before we start our agenda, let me deliver our schedule today as follows. The first is opening. Second, introduction to moderator and speaker. Third is a lecture session. Fourth, Q&A session. Next is certificate awarding, and the last is closing. Now, before we proceed to the next agenda, let me introduce our moderator. Our moderator today, Bapak Muhammad Hilman Fatoni. He's a lecturer at the Department of Biomedical Engineering in ITS. And since 2016, he is a secretary department at Biomedical Engineering at ITS. And he got master degree in electrical engineering, ITS, and in 2021, he got engineer profession program also in ITS. Actually, he had a lot of special award and honor, but I will read just two of the first is in 2000. Oh, not two actually. In 2019 and 2020, he got champion in Singapore Robotic Games for humanoid category. And in 2019, he also got champion in National Indonesian Art Dance Robotic Contest division in Indonesian robotic contest. Now, without further ado, let's proceed to the main agenda. Bapak Hilman, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ibu Raini, as a Master of Ceremony in today's quiz lecture series. As Ibu Raini said before, we will have two topics in this Thursday quiz lecture series, and the topics is in the field of good health and well-being. And we have two speakers here today. Let me say hello first with Dr. Zalina Othman. Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Zalina Othman.
Hi, afternoon.
Okay, thank you for giving a chance for us in the ITS for giving this quiz lecture. So let me read first the curriculum vitae or brief information for today first speaker. Today first speaker is Dr. Zalina Othman. She is a lecturer in the Innovation Center in Agri Technology for Advanced Bioprocess in the University Technology of Malaysia. And in the 1995, she got his diploma in microbiology in University Technology Mara. In 1998, he got his biological science in Bachelor degree of University of Plymouth, UK. And in 2004, she got ITech diploma in holistic massage and ITech diploma in aromatherapy in the International Therapy Examination Council, UK. In 2009, she got also a Master Engineering degree in Bioprocess in University Technology Malaysia. And in the 2016, she got Doctor of Philosophy in Bioprocessing Engineering, University Technology Malaysia. Dr. Zalina Othman also has some professional experiences since 2017 until present. She is a senior lecturer and fellow researcher at Innovation Center in Agri-Technology for Advanced Bioprocess in University Technology Malaysia. And in the 2019 until today, 2021, she is a head of product development and commercialization Innovation Center in Agri-Technology for Advanced Bioprocess, University Technology Malaysia. She also have an areas of expertise in dry food and fermentation technology. And Dr. Zalina will be giving lectures for today GLS on SDGs, with title is Bioprocess Development on Probiotic for Health and Wellness. It is for our today first speaker, and let me say hello to the second speaker, Dr. Ryu Takeda. Welcome to ITS, Doctor.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ryu Takeda. Let me read also the brief profile about our second speaker. Dr. Ryu Takeda from Hokkaido University has an education since 2004. He got his bachelor degree in University of Tsukuba in 2006. Also got master degree in engineering in University of Tokuba, and in the 2009 he got his PhD in engineering in Hokkaido University. Dr. Ryu Takeda also have work experiences since 2010 until 2012. He was research associate in biomechanics group or mechatronics in medicine, Imperial College London, UK. And then in 2012 until 2020, he is an assistant professor, Division of Human Mechanical System and Design in Hokkaido University. And in 2020 until recent, he is assistant professor, Division of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, Hokkaido University. He is also active in some academic societies. The first one is in the Japan Society of Mechanical Engineers and the Society of Material Science, Japan, JSMS. The third one in Japan Society for Technology of Plasticity, and the last International Society of Biomechanics. Yeah, I'm familiar with these societies, Dr. Ryu Takeda, because I'm also in biomechanical engineering in PhD.
It's a very big society.
Yeah, this is very big society, and biomechanics is one of all this specialization in biomechanical engineering. Okay. And today, Dr. Ryu Takeda in the second topics will be deliver about applying mechanical engineering technologies to medical application, diagnosis, and treatments. Okay, that is all for our today brief profile of our today's speaker. Without let's we move to the next agenda, and we will move to the first speaker for today guest lecture series. Please, Dr. Zalina Othman. Time is yours. I think it's still mute, Dr. Zalina.
Okay, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Iman. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Zalina Othman. Now, I'm a senior lecturer and research fellow at Innovation Center in Agri-Technology for Advanced Bioprocess, also known as SICA, University Technology Malaysia Pago. Actually, today I would like to share with you about bioprocess development of probiotics. For health and wellness. The learning outcome of this lecture, hopefully I can explain benefit and importance of probiotic organisms to human health, and also to demonstrate probiotic bioprocess development for high cell density cultivations of probiotic bacteria and its biomaterial from the cell bank to powder. This is what our research activity at UTM. Okay, this is my organization at UTM Pagos. Actually, we are about 150 kilometers away from UTM Skudai. Okay, here is our main campus, but now I am working at Pago. Okay, it take 1 hour journey from Skudai to Pago. I love it because it's very nice place, calm, and that's why it's suitable for us lah, as an agri-technology department. Okay. Today I would like to talk about microbes because microbe is everywhere, not only in our body but also it surrounds us. Okay. For today, I will focus on microbe in human's body because as we know, only about 1 out of 10 cells in the human body is actually a human cells. The rest are microbes. That's why ICA UTM Pago, and in my research study, I focusing on probiotic microorganisms because we know the benefits of this microorganism to our health. Okay, this microbe in human bodies, not only we can find it on our skins, but normally we can get it more, okay, in our gut. So that's why we think there is a lot of benefit of microorganisms to us. Okay, the history of microbiology is quite slow actually because last decades we having problem with the tools to observe these teeny microorganisms. Okay, basically we don't have microscope at that times. Luckily, with the help of with the knowledge that by scientists, Prophet Hooke in 1665, luckily they can observe the cells under a microscope. They designed it for their research activity, and it starts observed by Van Leeuwenhoek in 1674, and then they call it they observe it single cell organisms. Okay, from there it starts the research activity is start. Okay. Okay, when microbes rules our world, we are suffering. Okay, last time we heard about SARS. Okay, we heard about HIV, HIV disease. We got Ebola, hemorrhagic fever, and the worst case is antibiotic resistance. So be careful with microorganisms. Okay, nowadays WHO defined that eight type of microorganism that can cause a very epidemic. So be careful with these eight disease. Okay, nowadays we are suffering COVID-19. It's caused us pandemics, and inshallah by October Malaysia will be changed from pandemic to endemic. Hopefully it's going well, but during this pandemic it's make us life very worse. Okay, we have SOP everywhere. We should care about our social distance. We should we have a problem in our society. We have problem with our business, and the worst case we have problem, not the problem, death. Okay, the number of deaths, the number of the cases, the number of the patient deaths is going tremendously increase day by day. So hopefully we can cover this problem. Okay, COVID-19. This is the numbers of death in US at August. This is the data is at August 2021, where the number of deaths is more than 600,000 people. Okay. Okay, don't worry. Microorganisms not can give us negative effect. They also give benefit to us. Okay, some of the microorganism, I think we know, some can give useful to us. Some of the microorganism group, we can use it in our food industry, in production of medicines, in our ecosystem. Microorganisms help to decompose our waste. Okay, we can recycle from the composting of our waste. We can recycle the nutrient from our waste. So I will explain to you for today what is the benefit of the beneficial microbe to humans. Okay, next time if I get a chance to talk about ecosystem, I will share with you our finding about microorganism which can help to sustain our environment. Okay. Okay, today I would like to talk microorganism in our gastrointestinal tract. Okay, when we read research activity, research finding, international journal, we can find it most of the probiotic bacteria in our gastrointestinal tract, such as in colon and also in small intestine and intestinals. Not only we have E. coli, or sometimes we get salmonella in our gastrointestinal tract, but in our gastrointestinal tract we have beneficial microbe. Normally we call it as a probiotic microorganisms. Okay, actually what is the probiotic microorganism? Definition by the World Health Organizations, they define it as a live microorganism which when administered in adequate amount confer a health benefit to us. Okay, make sure the product that you eat, the product that you take, if they claim it as a cultured product, make sure the number of the microorganism in that type of the food or they prepare it as a supplement must be in adequate amount. Okay, in order to be labeled as a probiotic product, they have to prove it scientifically. Evidence for the health benefit would have to be documented. So be careful the product, probiotic food product or supplement of probiotic in our market. Make sure all these requirements. Okay. Okay, this is some of the example of probiotic microorganism that we well studied. Okay, if you go to Google Scholar or you have Elsevier, most of them like to study this type of the group of microorganisms, like probiotic microorganism, and they start to isolate a new strains. Okay, basically we have the famous one is genus Lactobacillus. Okay, and also we have bifidobacteriums. It's difficult to handle bifidobacterium species because we have to handle it in anaerobic conditions. Okay, it's fully anaerobic cultivation, and we also have probiotic organisms from yeast. Normally, actually we have different type of the yeast. The famous one is Saccharomyces boulardii. Okay, this is the probiotic history. Okay, it starts by Louis Pasteur at 1850, where they Pasteur discovered lactic acid bacteria. Okay, in 1935 at Japan's first commercial product with lactic acid bacteria launched in Asia. That's known as Yakult. I not really know is it Indonesia have this product or not, but in Malaysia or even in Japan, this is a very famous product. And also at 1965, the term of probiotic is used for the first times. Okay, before this they only call it as a lactic acid bacteria. Okay, lactic acid bacteria, actually not all probiotic bacteria we can classify it as a lactic acid bacteria. Okay, once the genus, the group of the bacteria that can produce lactic acid, so we classify it as a lactic acid bacteria. Okay, after that, after 1965, people start use the term of probiotic in all of their product, and all of the probiotic based product is growing very well. It's actually a good business. Okay. This is the inventor for Yakult. Okay. Okay. Instead, we get probiotic microorganism from the culture food like yogurt, like Yakult. We also get basically this food we classify is a dairy based product, and also when we can isolate probiotic from fruits, vegetables, and also cereals. And the best place to isolate probiotic bacteria is where? Our gastrointestinal tract, because we have a lot of probiotic bacteria there, probiotic microorganism there. Okay, this is the benefit of probiotic that can maintain good digestion. Please, everybody, take probiotic food, take probiotic supplement every day. Okay, why we have to take it every day? Because this microorganism is not belong to our body. Okay, originally not belong to our body. The scientists have to define, have to find the best, actually the best probiotic organism to each of us. Okay, every day when we go to the toilet every morning, we will flush out all of these probiotic microorganisms. So that's why every day we have to replace it with the food, with the fermented food, with the cultured food, with the supplement. I mean all you can replace it with the fermented food or cultured food with which is contain probiotic microorganism, or you can take it as supplement. Okay, probiotic microorganism can improve our mental health. Okay, fight the ravage of aging. Okay, reduce inflammations. A lot of benefit from probiotic microorganisms. Okay, so I recommend you to watch the video. From this video, a very nice video, they explain to us how probiotic microorganism works in our body. What is the correlated of microorganism in our gut to our brain, and how they influence nutrients absorptions, microbial balance in our gastrointestinal tract, how they influence neurotransmitter stress, how this probiotic microorganism influence anxiety moods in our body behavior, because most of the probiotic microorganism can help to secrete serotonin. Serotonin will decrease depressions and also have anti-inflammatory effect. Okay, that's why I recommend you to watch this video. Very nice video. Okay, why we have to take every day culture food supplements with probiotic microorganism? Because our lifestyle. Okay, when we go to the hospitals, when we have flus, actually we should not take antibiotic, but we have to follow our doctors. We have to take the antibiotic. Lack of sleep. Okay, this is the lifestyle of people now. Lack of sleep. Okay, they are watching video, movie, take a long time, and they forget all of these activities. Imbalanced diet, overthinking, overeating, overdrinking, stress, and aging will kill your microbe in your gastrointestinal tract. Okay, please take care of your body. Okay, that's why I recommend you to take cultured and fermented foods every day. Okay. Luckily, we have these innovations, food and beverages with probiotic bacteria. Basically, all of this is Western food. Most of the Western people have Yakult. No, this is from Japan. They have cheese. They have yogurt. This is not a simple work. Once they come out with this product, actually this is not a simple work. They have a lot of studies how to culture probiotic microorganism, how to select a good probiotic strain to develop this type of food. Okay. In Malaysia, previous. Okay, basically most of these food and beverages, they only have a single cell of a probiotic microorganism. Okay, like Yakult. Yakult in this product, they only have Lactobacillus casei shirota. But luckily in Malaysia, we have product that we call is Vitagen. They have 3 type of Lactobacillus species: Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, and Lactobacillus casei, that we call it as a Lactobacillus ABC. Okay, but for me, the good one is Yakult, because only one strains. I not promote this product, okay? I just to share with you the benefit of probiotic microorganisms. Instead of they have one strain, they claim this product is very good to our health, okay? Okay, do you eat fermented food? Dr. Hilman, do you eat fermented food?
Yeah,
Tempe?
sometimes. Yeah,
Sometimes. No, Dr. Hilman, you should take it every day.
Okay.
This is the problem now, not in your country, I think, but I don't know. I not really know. But in Malaysia, young people don't like to eat fermented food, because it's have some odor that not nice, stinky. So the young people don't like to eat, but it's very good for your health. Okay, when we compare with the culture beverages of food, normally they are using single cells, single probiotic microorganisms under dry conditions. But for the fermented food, what is the good for the from our traditional fermented food? We culture with a single strain, but also by the help of indigenous microorganism in the food under unsterile condition. We prepare the food. It's contribute more health benefit to us. So Dr. Hilman, take more tempeh after this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it's tempeh. I eat every day. That's very good.
Yeah, it's very good actually. Okay. Okay, this is fermented food we have in Malaysia. I don't think it's far. The difference is far when we compare with Indonesia. Here we have tempeh from soybeans. We have natural vinegar. We have soy sauce. We have anchovy sauce. We have fermented glutinous rice, and we have fermented topaika, and also we have fermented durian. I love this one. Okay, actually I'm not saying it without what we want to call it. All of this product, there is a well research. They found that all of these product, instead of they have their own cultured cell, they also have lactic acid bacteria. There is probiotic bacteria. Okay, like I told you before, young people don't like to eat it. Luckily, we have this kimchi. You know this, Dr. Hilman? Look, you know about it. Okay, luckily, we have this famous fermented cabbage. Okay, rich with nutrient, rich with lactic acid, rich with lactic acid bacteria. Okay. Okay, luckily, before that, I told you, I'm sorry, I got this from newspaper from Malaysia. There is a well study about the fermented food, fermented traditional food from Malaysia. We a lot of intensive study. They found that fermented topaika, tempeh, and also anchovy sauce having a lot of antioxidants activity, rich with vitamins B, rich with enzymes activity. So please take it every day. Okay, good job lah for them. Okay, what is the benefit of fermented food? Like I told you before, fermented foods contain enzyme that can help us to absorb nutrients, that can help us to digest food in our intestinals. Since in fermented food, some of the fermented foods, not all, when they study, they found that there is a lactic acid bacteria there. When we have lactic acid bacteria in our fermented food, for sure, this good bacteria help restore balance in the gut and aid digestion and increase immune health to us. And also, we know that lactic acid can create production of lactic acid by lactic acid bacteria, there is probiotic bacteria. They can help to kill pathogenic microorganisms. That's why our grandfather, grandmother last time when we don't have refrigerator, they preserve their food by this technology. Okay, last time they don't think this is this is the fermented food is helped by probiotic bacteria, because they don't do scientific study. But nowadays we found that most of the fermented food contain lactic acid bacteria. Lactic acid bacteria produce lactic acid. Lactic acid can preserve our food. Okay, preservation. And also by using probiotic microorganism can also increase nutrition value of our food. So please take your traditional fermented food. If you don't like it, you can take kimchi. If you don't like it, you can take culture food, or the simple one, buy supplement that contain probiotic microorganism. Okay, simple. Okay, what I want to share with you is the platform bioprocess development for high cell cultivation of probiotic bacteria and its biomaterial from cell bank to powder. This is the platform that we have at UTM, especially at UTM Skudai. We are successfully developed probiotic powder. Okay, we start from pure strain. Actually, we not isolate it. It's not an easy work. We have to define the isolated strain. But for our research activity, we got pure strain from DSM site. We buy Lactobacillus plantarum. We make cell banking in order to get to maintain our cells for further use in our experiments. And then we check, okay, this is the platform that we have. We have to check the functional characteristic of our selected probiotic microorganism. For our study, we work with bacteria. Okay, okay, functional characteristic is depends on your objectives. Okay, what type of activity that you want in your probiotic microorganism. For us to be a good product, we have to screen acid and bioresistant. We have to screen the virulence genes. Is it they carry antibiotic sensitivity? They carry hemolysis activity? Is it they produce antimicrobial, a good antimicrobial bioactive compound? Is that can they co-aggregations? So we have to investigate it. And also we have to test cytotoxicity activity of this selected probiotic bacteria. And then when we find there's a 1 or 3 or 4, it depends on you how many microorganisms that you want to develop. We start to study the growth medium. We call it as a production medium. Okay, because we have to think it for us as a product development department. We have to think it, the strain, we want to use it in our product. So we have to think it for commercialization activity. We have to design a good production medium. We have to think about how to reduce the cost of operation, because cultivation medium actually is take 40% of cost of production. So this is a big investment lah. So we have to study what is the physical, the biological characteristic in the shade flash cultivation before we move to study in bioreactor. Okay, at this stage we call it bioprocessing development in bioreactor. At this stage we start to optimize bioprocessing condition like temperature, pH, agitation. Is there any effect of agitation on the cell growth, on the production of EPS or other metabolite? We have to study it very well, and then we start scaling up it in pilot scale bioreactor, because in a small scale bioreactor or even in the shade flash cultivation, the growth performance is different. Okay, and then after we found it, actually we concurrently to start to formulate our product. Okay, we at this stage we have in the powder form, we have in cell piece, and also some of our client they need probiotic use a beneficial microbe in the broth, because they want to directly use it. Okay, but for us we develop it as a powder, easy to handle. Okay, sorry. Actually, I want to show you the platform. Oh, I delete the photo of our platform at UTM Skudai, where we have a bioreactor from a lab scale, and then we have bioreactor 60 liter up to 1000 liter, and also we have this tech centrifuge to get the cell piece before we formulate it with before we go to spray dryer. Okay, I'm sorry, I delete the pictures of bioprocessing platform from bioreactor to spray dryer. Okay, this is a part of our study before we get final product. There is a powder of probiotic. We have to start with medium optimization as a production medium. The objective of this study, we want to use agro waste, there is molasses. We want to look either Lactobacillus plantarums can grow well under this carbon source, or what is the factor that influence for high cell mass cultivation, and at the same time, what is the effect when we try to increase the cell mass? What is the effect of exopolysaccharide productions? Okay, this is biology activity of EPS that we found. EPS is exopolysaccharide that normally produced by lactobacillus. They produce it as a exopolysaccharide. This is the benefit, and for industrial application, like I said to you before, we have to think, we have to formulate a new production medium that can cut our production costs. Okay, so we have to the main cost is at the carbon source. So that's why we try to change. Before this, we found that Lactobacillus plantarum is very good growth in lactose. Lactose is very expensive. That's why we try to use molasses as a alternative renewable carbon source. Okay. This is the method. We are at this stage. We are using shade flash cultivations. We optimize the medium by using response surface methodology, and this is the analysis how to calculate. This is a normal activity in the fermentation laboratory, and how to extract of EPS. Basically, we extract it by using 90% of cool ethanol. Okay, and then once we use ANOVA to look, is it our formulation is the ingredient of the formulation is significant or not, we define it by using ANOVA, and we finally found that both for the cell mass and EPS they are depends on the carbon source and nitrogen source. Okay. This is the curve that we got. The main problem when we cultivate probiotic bacteria is lactic acid production. I'm really sorry, the figure is not clear. Okay, this is for the figure here is the growth for unoptimized media. This is what we investigate from the previous study. We found it by using this media, the pH of the cultivation starts from 6 and then they're going down up to 5.5. Okay, this is the figure for optimization study where the same scenario for the pH, because we can correlate it. The decrease of the pH means that lactic acid production is high. Okay. And from here, from the new optimizations of media cultivation or production media, we found that when we change lactose to molasses, the cell maximum we got is 4.4 gram per liter. Okay, in unoptimized cell, even 1 gram of cell, we cannot get it. So for same with the EPS, increase. Okay, before in unoptimized medium only 0.265 gram, but in optimized media we can get 4 gram per liter. Actually, this is still low because this is in shade flood study. We cannot control the growth conditions. Okay, then this is the conclusion. We found that carbon and nitrogen is the main factor that influence the growth of lactobacillus. Okay, so we can use molasses as a good carbon source. And then we try comparison study development and functional characteristic of exopolysaccharide production from cultivation of lactobacillus plantarum and cold culture with Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, I told you, Dr. Hinman, I have another 20 minutes, 10 minutes.
I think just 1 minute, Doctor.
1 minute. Okay. We found that we have to culture with yeast because yeast can, in simple language, yeast can eat lactic acid. So we can improve cell mass of lactobacillus. Okay. When we culture with yeast, we facing problem with bioactivity of EPS. Okay. EPS bioactivity. Okay, look, the cell mass is high when we co-culture with yeast. Okay, when we compare single culture, the cell mass is high, but the bioactivity, like in antioxidant activity of EPS, not detected at all. So we cannot do that for commercialization activity. The bioactivity of EPS not detected at all. Okay. They did a morphology and we found that when we co-culture with with yeast, there is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. The morphology is not accepted to making biofilm for making biofilms for food industry. This is from single culture of plantarum. So the decision is you have to optimize your process without co-culture with Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, this is how we encapsulate of our Lactobacillus buccaricus. This time is not plantarum with carbohydrate, protein, coconut oil. We are using spray dryer because we are more interested in the powder form. And what we get from this experiment, we are using the mixture of carbohydrate, protein, lipid mixture in order to protect our probiotic bacteria during digestions, during storage, and also during process. Okay, finally, by using these formulations, okay, we optimize the formulations. The formulation is carbohydrate, protein, lipid mixture. Finally, we found that this is under SEM, the surface morphology of our spray dry encapsulated lactobacillus bulgaricus. We found that our formulation is best for protecting encapsulations probiotic bacteria against damaging of oxidation stress during storage under unrefrigerated conditions. Okay, it's about 77%. But when we try with these formulations, only can protect from our gastrointestinal tract about 11.43% only. So our formulation is good for storage only. So we have to optimize, further optimize. We have to find that what is good for powder of probiotic bacteria. So I'm sorry, that's all from me. So we are welcome for any collaborations. So Dr. Himan, please join us. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zalina, for the maybe the new information, new knowledge. And for the participant, if you have any question, you can drop the question through the link. And for the we start for the next speaker. For Dr. Yu Takeda, times and screen is yours. You may start until 40 minutes.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction. Let me just turn on my camera. Can you see my slides?
Yeah, I can see well, and hear you well.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, your slide is not yet.
Okay, I'm just checking. Is that okay?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ryo Takeda. I'm from Hokkaido University, and my talk is about applying mechanical engineering technologies to medical applications. These seem like to be two different research areas, but they're quite interconnected. So I'd like to just give you a brief introduction. So moving on, introduction about myself. The introduction, the moderator already spoke of my background, so I'm going to skip this, okay? A little bit about my university. I'm currently in Hokkaido University, which is on the North Island of just a moment. North Island of the Japan, and we're located around here. About half of the population of the whole island is concentrating in this Sapporo campus here, and we can see that there's 180 hectares of campus area on this campus. And maybe recently you've seen this campus before because it was part of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Marathon course. And maybe if you watched the live video, live footage, you could have seen some of the campus areas on TV. Okay, moving on. So I'm going to talk about what is a medical device first. So from the U.S. Department of Health and Services FDA manual, well, a medical device is used for diagnosis of disease or other conditions in the cure or mitigation, treatment, or prevention of disease, and to affect the structure of any functions of body of man or other animals, and which does not achieve any primary intended purposes through chemical like this. So basically, it's a tool that we can actually use for clinical practice. So there's many aspects to medical devices. We can use it for diagnosis. We can also for monitoring or treatments, or actually some relief, which is sort of like if you're in sort of a disability or if you have some pain, we can relieve that. And these are all considered to be medical devices. And examples of medical devices, maybe you've seen some of these medical devices or have used some of these medical devices. We can have most recent ones, or most famous ones are like CT scanners, which are can be used to monitor your bone tissue imaging. An MRI device, which can be used for soft tissue imaging, such as your blood vessels. So these are some of the tools that we're most of us are accustomed to. And basically, another example of a medical device is most advanced one is probably robotic surgical interventions. Maybe some of you have seen this before on maybe on videos or on the news. But these are like virtually controlled robots, which increase the accuracy and repeatability of multiple operations, 3D stereo imaging. And this what this leads to is like when a doctor is treating a patient, it can lead to shorter operation time, alleviate fatigue for the doctor. It's easier on the patient because it's usually these sort of surgeries are very minimalized evasive operations, and this will lead to shorter hospitalization costs and reduce overall medical costs. So these are some potential medical devices that are being currently used worldwide. And let me, I'm just going to skip the video here. But as a mechanical engineer, what can we do for medical devices? So one of the two topics, main topics that medical engineers try to tackle when thinking about medical devices is, well, they can be either used for maybe diagnosis. So one of the things that we can actually think is to quantify the health status of a person. So instead of a qualitative questionnaire and asking the patient, how did the surgery go? Are you in pain, or are you better? We try to quantify or enumerate how well the diagnosis or treatment went. And this can and there's another side which we can actually for treatment, which is quantitatively evaluation of a person's recovery. This is also the same in asking the patient how well how the treatment went. So as an mechanical engineering aspect, we can actually, for these diagnostics and treatment processes, we can actually use technologies to develop new diagnosis technologies or develop new technologies for treatment. So these are the two aspects that I'm going to be focusing on in this talk. So the two outlines of this presentation, or the two of this lecture, is going to be two things. I'm going to talk about two researches that we are doing, which can be applicable to one, the treatment, and two, the diagnosis. So first, I'm going to talk about a mechanical prospects to the effects of ligament bundles on the stability of the knee joint. And on the latter half of the presentation, I'm going to talk about using numerical simulations to assess the blood flow of the aorta, especially aortas with a dissection in which the blood flow changes within the aorta. So first, moving on. I'm going to talk about the knee. So when you think about the knee, there's a lot of motivations in the background. So this is just a an X-ray image of the knee joint. But if you look at the knee from a mechanical or a structure aspect, the knee is very complex. So the knee is not just the bones and muscles and cartilage. It's not just bones and just cartilage, but it's mostly has a lot of muscles and also has a lot of cartilages, and also has a lot of ligaments which are attaching each of these tissues together. So just looking at the knee joints, quite very sophisticated. However, I'm going to, since it's the largest joint in our body, it's the most damaged. And usually treatment for damaged tissues within the knee joint are prosthesis or ligament repair. So in order to actually properly assess or quantify how the treatment went, we first have to understand how knee joints how knee joints work. And this is where knee joint biomechanic testing comes in. So as I spoke before, one of the knee is the most heavily loaded joint in the body and caused by sports or onset diseases such as osteoarthritis, and this can lead to chronic pain. And one of the tasks of in our work is finding new methods for treatment, and also finding what sort of functions normal or natural or healthy ligaments or knee joints have for each tissue. So if you just look at the knee joint, and if you look at the disease called OA, there's many aspects in which many biomedical engineering and mechanical engineering and clinical surgeons are cooperating to actually tackle. And this is something I was working on was in the UK. I'm just going to go into OA a little more in detail. So osteoarthritis, you probably heard of this before while in your studies or on the news, or maybe you have heard a lot of maybe some sports players having surgery on their knees. Osteoarthritis is usually a mechanical abnormality involving degradation of joint cartilage and bone. Symptoms may include joint pain, tenderness, stiffness, locking, and sometimes an effusion. So the definition is for OA is like this, and you can see it's a mechanical abnormality involving degradation. So something happens in the knee joint which actually causes the cartilage or joint bones to degrade. So some causes that are being thought to be cause of the OA is like mechanical damage, obesity, heredity. But actually, there is actually currently no cure for treating OA, and the only method for treatment is actually replacing the whole knee with an artificial knee joint or ligament. And it's a quite gruesome process and very painstaking process for the patient. Then let's just talk about the knee joint and especially ligaments. Ligaments contribute to a large proportion of the stability of the knee joint. And the ligaments are, well, collagen fibrous tissues that connect bones to other bones. And the difference between tendons and ligaments is that tendons connect bones to muscles where ligaments connect bone to bone. And they act like a, how do you say, mechanical elastic band that attaches to the bone and actually stabilizes the knee joint from moving into certain directions. They actually gradually sink under tension and return to the original shape when the tension is removed. However, they cannot retain their original shape or compress past a certain point for a long periodic time. So sometimes these ligaments, in normal usage, they just elongate and return back to normal. But if you elongate them too long, this deformation becomes plastic, as in it cannot return back. And that's when the properties of the knee joint stability changes. So one of the points that is made here is that once a knee joint is dislocated, you have to quickly reset it before the ligaments get lengthened too much. And that's when you cannot reverse the effects of the ligament enlargement. So that's one of the problems. So an example of a ligament damage is usually to do with maybe with a contact sports or unknown motions that are currently or quickly occur to the knee joint. And this is something, a picture from the 2006 World Cup from England. Maybe heard of a player called Owen. He actually was playing for a game, and actually he twisted his knee joint, which led to the tear in one of his ligaments in the knee joint. Oops, sorry. The PowerPoint must have failed. I apologize. I apologize. Sorry, my PC's PowerPoint just shut down. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. We can hear
Okay,
you
sorry
well.
about that. I'll try to restart from where the PowerPoint ended. Another sort of ligament damage can be caused by automobiles or some very hard contact to the knee. And this is one of the most common causes of a ligament damage. It's called the dashboard injury. This occurs when the driver's passenger's bent knee slams into against the dashboard, pushing the tibia just below the knee and causing PCL to tear. So actually we see that the knee, it hits the dashboard and it actually causes knee ligaments to tear. So in order to actually assess these sort of problems, many researches have been done. One of the most prominent or the most famous examples of these testing for the knee joint was done in 1980s, and this was done in the this was not done to actually find out which ligaments have which restraining orders. And another one by Fujie used a robotic manipulator to apply complex loads. Race and Amos from Imperial College, they developed the method by actually cutting the ligaments that is attached to a loading machine, and actually they can find out how much the load of that ligament was by subtracting the impact state to the cut state. And also more researches continued in 1996 by using robots to apply sophisticated more trajectories. So as the research progressed, high degrees of freedom and repeatability, load detections were quite one of the major factors for conducting these experiments. And just to explaining how most of these early studies continued. So this is the experiments that was done by Butler et al. In 1980s. And what they did was they attached this is a material testing machine. This is used to test the strength of materials by actually pushing or pulling or compressing materials. What they did was they attached a knee joint specimen in this setup here, and they actually pulled and pushed the knee joint, and they actually quantified how much force these ligaments can hold. And this is further studies in the future in the 1990s, which actually used more complex devices to actually find out which direction these knees joint ligaments contribute to by developing a very sophisticated degrees of freedom release setup, and where they would do the same experiments as the ones that Butler did, but with more degrees of control over the degrees of freedom. So by doing that, they could actually find out how much each of these ligaments forces had according to a certain degrees of freedom. So to develop a biomechanical testing setup, you need high position accuracy, repeatability, trajectory projection, and you have to measure you have to be able to quantify the position and the torque forces that it exerts. So one of the interests of our research or our work is to quantify the load contributions of these knee joint ligaments and evaluate ligament reconstruction techniques that are being currently used in the clinical environment, and maybe compare the differences between the natural and artificial ligament properties. And possibly this will lead to a novel ligament reconstruction techniques and develop new artificial ligaments with near natural states. So in our work, we're trying to decipher whether how to reconstruct the ligament once it's torn. Currently, there's two methods for reconstructing these ligaments. One's called a single bundle reconstruction, where a ligament transplant is conducted with just one. And there's double reconstructions where there are actually two transplants are inserted into the knee to actually restore the knee joint function. But they don't know which one is more efficient. Certainly, just putting one surgery is much more less fatigue on the patient, but adding more two functions, two ligaments to the reconstruction may actually be more natural for the patient. So there's a controversy there, which is much more efficient. And some of the experiments that we did, what we did was we have a knee joint specimen, which is like it's not a human knee joint, it's a pig porcine knee joint. But what we did was we actually took a knee joint, added and put it into the experiment setup, and we started to tear or intentionally cut the ligaments little by little. And what we found out was that how much each of these smaller incisions made on the ligaments reduces the contribution load of the ligament. So how much load is the knee joint able to resist after these ligaments are torn? So this is just a porcine knee joint, it was animal knee joint. But what we did was we just cut the ligament little by little and see how much the load contribution of each of these ligaments were. So this is sort of the setup that we had, a material testing machine with similar degrees of freedom of release fixture as I showed in the reference. And what we did was there's a load sensor attached. And what we does is it applies the motion to a knee joint and it measures the load. So this is the sort of the setup that we had in our lab. And this is the sort of the motions that we actually were able to reproduce with our setup like here. So with this setup here, we can control the degrees of freedoms that the knee joint exerts. And what we found out was in an intact state, the knee joint behaves normally, where with up to 150 to plus minus 150 resistance force in both the forward direction and the reverse direction. But as we start removing the ligament, cutting the ligament, we actually see that the forces decrease little by little. This is for the ACL, which is the anterior cruciate ligament, which stands for the front cruciate ligament. And this is for the posterior cruciate ligament, which is the backside of the cruciate ligament, which actually exerts forces in this direction. And as you can see, from an intact state, it gradually drops. The forces drop according to the cuts made into the knee joint ligaments. So what we found out was that certain degrees of each degrees of the knee joint have different functions according to the degrees of freedom. But there's a certain problem with this, is that once we cut the ligaments, we're not able to go back, as in once we do an experiment on a specimen knee joint, we're not able to redo experiments in a different condition because the knee joint is already cut. So what we did was we wanted to make sure we can conduct simulations on the knee joint with various orientations or various angles, which could be used to estimate how much each of these ligaments contribute according to a given orientation that we have not done in an experiment. So we have tried doing this with numerical models. This is like a musculoskeletal model with the knee joint. So we use materials properties from references to actually add these material properties to these ACL and PCL bundles, which are in the knee joint. We devised many formulas within this simulation. I'm not going to go into detail about the exact formula, but these are sort of the aspects of the simulations that we actually inverted. And using this, we could actually formulate how much each of these ligaments and forces exerted according to a given motion that we programmed into the model. So these angles were just chosen in the simulation, and the materials properties were added into the ligament parts here, as you can see in the red. So we can do the exact same motions as the experiments that we've done this this was a given. This is an open source simulation software that we first used, but we wanted to make a more accurate representation of the actual specimens that we were using. So we took the step a little further in creating our own model. So here, what we did was we took a knee joint specimen, we did an MRI scan, and we segmented all the knee joint tissues, and we actually used CAD to do some modeling. And actually, we implemented the geometrical aspects of the knee joint into an FEM model, which stands for finite element method, which is sort of like turning a material that has infinite number of elements into something finite so that we can actually estimate or in a more reasonable amount of calculation time. So what we did here was, since we could do experiments, tensile experiments on ligaments, what we did was we used the data here and we put it in the knee joint model, and we actually calculated how much the forces or the knee joint ligaments exerted using our knee joint model. So these are some of the aspects that we actually did. I'm not going into full details, but as you can see here, it's very simplified because we need to reduce the calculation costs. But here's the femur part of the knee joint, the tibia part of the knee joint, and we can see the various ligaments that we have seen previously in experiments are similarly reproduced in the numerical model here as well. We also did the same motions as the experiments where we added the displacement to the knee joint from 5 millimeters to 6 millimeters, and we actually measured how much the force is restrained according to the ligament load. So these are the sort of experiments that we conducted to actually do the. We needed to get the material properties, so we actually removed the ligament from the knee joint specimens, and we actually did a measurement, and we also did tensile tests with the knee joint ligament specimens. And through the gathered information, we were able to get average stress strain curve for each of these ligaments. And what we did was we used these data and implemented into the knee joint experiment. And actually, we did found out that this orange bar represents the experimental the numerical simulation results, and the green line explains the experimental test that we did. I should explain previously. So we actually found that we could actually represent almost the same amount of to the accuracy what the experiments done in the simulation to that of the experiments. In our doing our searches for an experiment and researches to the knee joint, what we could find was that the ACLs and the PCLs, or the ligaments within the knee joint, had various different contributions to different kinds of motions in the knee joint. So it's not as easy as saying, okay, we ruptured or damaged a ligament, just replace it with a single ligament in the surgical room. No, we have to also consider which directions the forces are being exerted, and also if those forces are actually correct. Because if you apply too much tension or too much forces when you're doing the reconstruction, it may actually lead to unbalancing the stability of the knee joint, which also may lead to OA. So in our researches, the findings and research supported that not just single but double bundle reconstruction is more beneficial, we believe, for treating ligament tears. So we also found that in our simulations, we were able to find promising results. We also need to actually simulate, well, it's not completely, it's not perfect, but we were able to actually get promising results from numerical simulations as well. And what we wanted to do in the future with this result is, well, find out how these ligaments rupture, how much forces and how much forces, how much cycles and how much overloading these ligaments can handle before they actually rupture. And what we want to use this data is for actually developing new materials that can be actually used for ligaments, because current artificial ligament materials are not sufficient, as they are quite brittle and they do not last long compared to natural ligaments. So we want to use these data to actually provide or propose new methods for treatments for artificial ligaments, or for ligament reconstructions. This is one of the problems that we're trying to tackle right now. So this is for treatment. And another one is that I'm going to talk about is for the diagnosis part of the mechanical devices in which mechanical engineering technologies can be used. So I'm just going to go into the background first. What we're trying to do is tackle a disease or a condition called aortic dissection, AD. This occurs when one of the innermost layers of the aorta, which is the largest blood vessel that's attached to your heart, splits, as in it tears. So here we can actually see that the lesion of our aorta splits into the original lumen, which is called the true lumen, and a false lumen, which a tear occurs here and the blood flows in this way as well. So this is not a very ideal condition, as this outer blood vessel wall here is much more brittle or much more weaker than the actual normal aortic wall. So we have to watch out, as if this blood flow may cause ruptures outside, and which will lead to the blood flowing outside. So this is very critical, as one of the problems of aortic dissections, which is when aortic dissections occur, it's quite fatal. So the symptoms may be sometimes because of blood flow changes, some parts of the body may not get enough blood or nutrients. And as explained, the thin blood vessels may rupture. Fatality is high, and the prediction of rupture is very important. And there's many cases where this AD is found too late, and the patients actually perish. So the research objective of our work in mechanical engineering is for medical devices is to evaluate changes in blood flow caused by aortic dissections, and we're trying to predict where these dissections or how these dissections occur in the blood. So this is important for diagnosing patients. So what we did here in our work is actually take CT images taken from a patient. We actually did a 3D segmentation of this aortic geometry. We meshed it, and we actually put it into a CFD, which is computational fluid dynamics tool. And we actually used the model here, and we actually applied near human blood properties into the inlet and outlet of these models, and actually reproduced a blood pulsation in this model. And this has been already been published. This is being published right now in 2021, and you'll be able to read it soon. It's already been accepted, but it's not the publication format is not, the pages and the volume is not set yet. It's in progress. And as you can see, this is what we were trying to do, and trying to find the pressure and parameters that are called wall shear stress, which is an indicator for how much the blood vessel is damaged, and see what sort of blood, how the blood flows within the aorta. So these are some of the normal healthy aortas we found we were using. And this is, I'm just going to, for reference, we're going to just use number 3. And these are sort of like the aortic with called Stanford A-type dissection, which, as you can see, the dissection occurs at the very top. So it's occurring before it curves, the arch. And this is called the ascending aorta, but when the dissection occurs at the ascending aorta, we call this a type A, or Stanford type A dissection. And mostly of these aortic dissections are used are these type of dissections. And for just reference, we're going to use this number 41 reference. And another type of aortas that we actually did our simulations on are called these group 3, which is a dissection that occurs in the later part, or the dissecting aorta. And also we also did some modeling where we actually there's a treatment for aortas, and after treatment what sort of changes occurs. But for here, for times constraints, we're going to just talk about this type where the dissection occurs at the bottom, which is called the Stanford B type dissection. And this is just small details about how we do the analysis, where actually we have to mesh, or we have to change the geometry of the aortic model into different boundary layers. I'm not going to very details, but we have to do this in order to make be able to calculate the blood flow within the aorta, and we also have to include the material properties such as density and viscosity of the blood. And in order to simulate, since the blood in the aorta is fluctuating according to the pulsatile motion of the heart, so when the heart beats, we have a section where the heart is pushing the blood out and where it's relaxing and pushing the blood out again. So we can actually see that the blood flow profile of the aorta is quite different according to which time you're looking at. So we can actually see that it's a maximum flow occurs at 0.07, and the lowest, and there's the heart rests at 0.4 seconds. And this is also, sorry, the simulations. We also can see that there's we also did a pressure evaluation profile of the, use the pressure profile of the aorta as well. So we use the blood flow and the pressure conditions to do our simulations. I'm not going into the certain details, but we also distributed the flow according to the exits of the aorta, but I'm not going to go into details about this one right now. So these are sort of the models that we did for that calculation. As you can see, when this is the results for the pressure within the aorta, when the blood flow is at the highest speed at 0.07 seconds, when the blood is being pushed out, right? So we can actually see that for the normal model, it flows like this. And for, sorry, changes. And for, we can see that there's high pressure here in the high regions of the aorta. And we can actually see that since the, small branches of vessels are leading out from the aorta, here we can see a large pressure here. And this is the simulation of the flow line of the blood vessel. But using our numerical simulation, what we can do is we can actually monitor how the blood is flowing according to the behavior of the heart. So this is the blue line is the very slow blood flow. And as you can see, it goes to white and red, which is the highest speed. So we can see which locations of the aorta are experiencing the highest blood vessel velocities within the aorta. So these are all done in simulations according to the models that we created from the CTs. And not just that, but we can actually focus on certain areas. To be exact, this is like a focusing on where the actual, there's an actual tear in the aorta. So what sort of motions or what sort of speeds the blood's flowing at this current, tear area. We can see how the blood is flowing, and it's causing a lot of turbulences and how it's, when it's streaming, flowing. But as you can see, if there's a dissection, the blood flow is quite turbulent. You can see a lot of turbulence in the motion here. So at the highest pressure, we can actually see some, in the normal, it's flowing normally, as you can see in the green. However, if there's a dissection and if there is some treatments here in these models here, we can see that sometimes there's a stagnation. Sometimes the blood flows at a very different velocity according to the other parts of the vessel. Since usually in the false lumen, it's very much narrow, and the velocity the false lumen, the true lumen is sometimes when the true lumen is narrower than false lumen, this tends to be much higher, and the false lumen must be stagnant. And if you look at when the blood flow is not going at 0.4 seconds, where the heart is it's not it's not pushing blood out, we can actually see a lot of vortexes or turbulences within the blood vessel, within the healthy and the dissected models. But as you can see in the dissected model, it's quite different from the other healthy models. And this is a parameter called wall shear stress distribution. It represents how much stress the wall is receiving according to the shear stress caused by the flow. This is usually a good indicator for how much damage or how much load is being applied to the blood vessel wall. In healthy aortas, the values are constant, whereas with the dissected models, you can see red dots, which is concentrating high areas. And actually, in using their simulation, we could actually locate areas with very, very high wall shear stress. And usually areas with wall shear stress over 38 pascals are usually caused there's studies where it's supported that it causes damage to the healthy blood vessels. And we found out that most of these are located in the dissected areas models. And since the false lumens are much more weaker than the normal normal lumen or true lumens, we expect that even these can be damaged with even less or small wall shear stress. So using our simulation, we can actually indicate where about is most critical or most the area of interest where maybe ruptures or dissections will occur. So to sum up this part of the talk, but take-home message using these numerical simulations for aortic dissections is that by using CFD and combining them with CTs, CFD is very is a very common tool that's being used in mechanical engineering, and CT images in clinical practice is being used very much. But by combining these two resources, we can actually create and visualize the differences between a healthy and dissected aorta. We can actually assume that areas with high pressure dispersion is related to the propagation of dissection in the false lumen. In addition, several areas with high wall shear stress that I explained, we can actually see that these might be extent wall vessel damage. And this is where areas where the tear may occur and cause the creation of a false lumen. Future things that we have to consider is that, as you can see in this lecture today, is that the blood vessel wall wasn't moving. An actual blood vessel actually moves according to how much the blood is being pulsated within the vessel wall. And we have to also consider the thickness of the blood vessels as well. So therefore, in the future, we need to actually consider the actual fluctuations in the blood vessel wall and also the blood flow itself. So in order to do this, what we have to do is called fluid structure interaction, which is called a coupled analysis. It's very much sophisticated because we have to consider the blood flow and how that affects the blood vessel, and how when the blood vessel deforms, we have to consider how that affects the blood flow. So it's a very, very complicated task. These are some of the simplified ones that we actually conducted, where actually we actually did a wall shear FSI on a small vessel that was taken from a CT, and we can see that applying a pulsatile flow into these vessels actually deforms the blood itself, and actually see that the wall shear stress actually changes according to the deformation of the vessel wall and blood flow. So I think that's my 40 minutes is up. So yeah. Thank you very much for the presentation from this thing, and I would like to just give acknowledgements to my the institutes that where I did my calculations on, and all my grants as well too, which made this possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Takeda. Okay, that's all for the guest lecture, for the presentation. I think there are few questions in the link, but first maybe I will to give a change in the Zoom participant. Maybe you can ask directly to our speaker, both our speaker, to Dr. Zalina or Dr. Takeda. If you have any question, maybe you can raise hand first.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. While we wait, maybe there is a question from the Zoom participant. I can read the few question in the link for today's quest lecture.
Thank you.
Okay. The first maybe from for Dr. Zalina. I think I will read this question first because there is two questions here, and one of them, both of them is from the same person. The first question, Dr. Zalina, what are the obstacles during research to create fermented product using bacteria, which we know is very complex and very tight about safety? This is the question from Muhammad Dalfa Gunawan. The obstacle when doing research about fermented products, Dr. Zalina.
Okay, during the fermentation of lactobacillus is actually the worst one is lactic acid productions. So we have to control it. Okay, when overproduction of because production of lactic acid is concurrent with the growth of the lactobacillus. So we have to control it. We control it by formulate a good production media and also the bioprocessing conditions. We have to play around with the dissolved oxygens, with the agitation speeds. So all of that we have to control to optimize the process. And for the powder form, yes, of course, the lowest outlet temperature that we can work with probiotic bacteria is 110. If not, we don't get dry powder. For the dry powder, we need moisture content below 4%. So if we use low outlet temperature for the spray drying, we cannot get 4% moisture content of our probiotic powder. So that's why all of these things we have to optimize the process. We have to study one by one. Okay.
Okay. There is a Dafa here. Yeah? Maybe are you satisfied with the answer, Dafa?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much for the answer, Professor. I think I clearly understand the answer. Thank you.
Okay, and maybe Dafa can also ask directly Dr. Takeda about your second question for second speaker.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Hillman, for the opportunity from me to asking about my curiosity about for Dr. Takeda. First of all, thank you so much, Professor, Doctor, for this time. I have several questions. First is about how do you adjust to creating a healthcare technology or something like that you have a background as mechanical engineering, because me as a biomedical engineering student, I know that there's a very hard for us to creating maybe a revolutionary technology in healthcare sector. That was the first question. And then the second one is, what is the limitations for you to create the healthcare technology as a mechanical engineering background? I think that's all my questions.
Okay, I'll try to answer them. If I don't remember them correctly, please correct me. Okay,
thank you.
From technologies that we develop here in the lab to actually bringing them into clinical practice, that's a very big challenge, I guess. Since I heard that your background is a medical engineering, right? Yes. So you may have noticed that if you're, my background is mostly robotics, actually. So I'm not I didn't start studying biomechanics, but I studied biomechanics when I was in graduate school. But one thing I noticed between regular robotics engineering and biomechanics is the difference in the results that you get. As in, and when you're dealing with live animals, or whether it's cells or soft tissue, there is a big variance in what the data you collected. So one of the aspects that you have when I was doing robotics is that if you input a certain control program to a robot, the robot will do that program exactly the same 1,000 times. But if in the biomechanical engineering, if you're doing a tension test on a ligament or a pressure test on a small cell, even if you do that experiment 1,000 times, you get 1,000 different results. So in biomechanics, what the problem is, not the problem, but the aspect that you have to be willing to take on is that the variance or the amount of errors that your results will get. So the only results that, it's not maybe an exact result that you might be able to get to quantify in the biomechanics, is that you'll be able to only get a tendency for a certain amount of results for experiments. So that tendency is very important, okay? So in order to summarize these tendencies, you're going to have to study, how do you say, the word I'm looking for is on the tip of my tongue. Not mathematics, but p-test and t-test. I just forgot it. It's on
physiology, maybe anatomy. Pardon? Or physiology of the human body.
Not stochastics, statistics. Sorry, statistics. Okay.
Oh, statistics.
Yeah. So you're going to have to do relevancy tests and also do some background tests on that in order to get a validation of your results. So one of the practices for moving from the lab, your technology to the lab, to the clinical practice is not just acquiring the technology itself, but getting results that you're able to get a relevant tendency for. And that takes a lot of time because it needs to do a lot of experiments, a lot of patients have to be tested on. So that, how do you say, not just completing the technology itself, but doing actual tests in the clinical or a pre-test before actually being able to, for the general public to use, is the, how do you say, the largest hurdle that we have to cross in order to transfer the technology from lab to clinical practice. Yes. And the second question, well, I forget. Sorry, could you repeat the second question?
I think the second question is like, what is the limitation for you as a mechanical engineering that at the very first time that I heard that was your background at the very first time. Okay. So what is the limitation?
The limitation, I would say the only limitation for when you're doing medical devices is that you're not allowed to directly measure the patients, right? Only medical practitioners can do that. So we have to get data from medical practitioners and we have to analyze that data. We have to analyze that data. And so all the data is coming through another person. So we can actually collect the data ourselves. That's one of the limitations, I think. And even though there's certain criteria that you may think are important, some criteria might not be important for the doctor or the clinicians. And some important facts for the clinicians might not be important for you, but those trade-offs have to be resolved. That's not a limitation, but one of the, how do you say, aspects of intercollaborations works that you have to be settled on. Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Takeda. Actually, I have a similar question. When I see the picture of your experiment. There is some. I want to ask: are you have a collaboration with doctor or maybe?
Yes.
Because I think the knee joint that you saw in the picture is that actually real, or maybe it's the product of your prototype after the modeling. Is the real or what?
Oh, okay. To answer your question, first for the knee joint, due to ethical reasons, Japan, we're not allowed to conduct experiments on actual human cadavers. So the only thing that we can actually do is closest is obtain animal knee joints, which in our case are using porcine joints, which is readily available in Hokkaido. And well, there are some anatomical differences, but the methodology that we're using to implement the process is the same. So CT scans, MRI scans to CAD and FEM models. The process is the same. So we're just developing the process to do that and seeing the validation of that process. And for the blood vessel, we're doing that in collaborations with the clinical medical doctors because they have the data, CT data and clinical trials of the aortic dissections. So they lend us the data and we analyze that and use it as our simulations and we provide the results to them. So it's a win-win collaboration for both of us. So there's according to the theme, it's a little how deep that we can actually collaborate with the medical department is quite different.
Okay, thank you. Because if I see that an engineer will want to do experiment without without the medical profession, maybe there is ethics that's we have to face, and that is the field of medical profession actually.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Takeda. And then is there someone who want to ask directly in this Zoom meeting? Maybe from chemical engineering or the chemical science for Dr. Nur Zalina, and from mechanical engineering maybe. Okay, I think I want to ask have a few questions for Dr. Nur Zalina. This is there are few information and knowledge that you said actually very interesting, that we must eat cultured or fermented food. That is some new question that some new information that I get today, because and there is a advantage in using the probiotics. And you, in your research, you are using molasses to increase the development of probiotics. And is the cost of using molasses and beside the using molasses and using normal carbon source, is there more costless or more expensive?
Thank you, Dr. Helman. Actually, carbon salts. I was talking first about the carbon salts. Actually, molasses is not cheap now.
Oh, not cheap.
Yeah, not cheap. Last time, yes, but now people start to sell it because they know the benefit of the molasses. But we have to find a way which is suitable for our microorganisms. And for the fermented food, we look at the diet of Japanese people. Is it correct, Doctor? Where is our speaker from? In Japanese people, fermented foods, they take it in most of their diet. So us Malaysians or Indonesia, we have to take benefit of the fermented food. We are not take it daily, isn't it? But when we compare with the Japanese people, they take it daily. Miso, what else? I not really familiar about the fermented food from Japan, but we have to, we have to try. We have to try. The problem is now the fermented food that we have now, like soya sauce, we have to think twice to buy it, because sometimes basically to get a good soy sauce, we have to ferment it about 6 months. So now they try to change the process. So you have to think twice lah. Better you make it your own fermented food. I don't believe fermented food out there. So you prepare by yourself. The simple way, you take supplement, pure strain. There is a lot of supplement product out there with probiotic microorganisms. This is the simple and the easy ways lah. But the cheapest one, you take fermented food. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zalina, because maybe the result of your research that conclude that more SDGs give better performance in development of probiotics, maybe then the price of the molasses become higher. Or since when the molasses become become pricey in using for development of probiotics?
Yes, Dr. Hilman. Actually, we have to investigate all of that factor. Actually, sometimes we try to have a high cell mass by using cheapest carbon source, but sometimes the bioactivity is very low. So
okay.
Yeah, the bioactivity.
Yeah.
So we have to investigate which one is suitable. Be careful with the bioactivity.
Okay.
Okay.
And then this is a question from right hand from Dr. Takeda.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. It's not more of a question, but just a comment or something like that.
Comment, okay.
Yeah. As for from the talk, thank you very much for the talk. Here in Japan also, we use lots of miso. I just snapped this from my wife right now. She's going to be angry, so I'm going to have to return it later. But we also have something called tofu is also fermented. Also, natto is like a fermented, very smelly beans. It's not very popular with Japanese young people as well, but yeah, they're trying to stay away. But one of the aspects of from a mechanical engineering point about microorganisms is a very important factor that we use in another field work that I'm working on, is that we actually use the microorganisms as a basis for testing the quality of water in rivers. So here in Hokkaido, we have a lot of agriculture taking place near rivers. And what we do is we do a lot of water quality testing using the bacteria tests. So we actually collect how much bacteria, general bacteria, how much coliform is mixed into the rivers to actually assess the water quality. If that water quality is too bad, we have to provide some, which is not supplementary to like a national threshold. We have to actually treat it or find a solution to how we can improve it. So microorganisms, not just for health, but also for environmental issues, it's a very impact measure. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. like the Dr. Zalina said in the first slide, that one of the microbes is everywhere. Yeah. Then of course, environment needs microbes too. Okay, and there is a question. Next question from Madeline Clarissa Tania. Maybe Madeline will ask directly to the Dr. Takeda. Is there Madeline here?
Yes, but I'm sorry, I forgot what I typed in that question.
Okay, maybe I will have you to read the question. So Madeline asked to Dr. Takeda that the specimen used for the knee ligament experiment was from a cadaveric animal, and how do you compare it to the scale of the human knee ligament? The comparison, or maybe what kinds of animal maybe used in this experiment?
Okay. To answer your question, we're using porcelain or animal cadaver specimens because that's mostly available, and we can do a lot of tests on it because as you saw my slides, we have to do experiments in very many different kinds of conditions. So we have to prepare a specimen for each of those conditions, and it's quite hard if we actually did it on a human cadaver because that's going to be quite impossible to collect. So we're doing it in animals. We're not exactly comparing the anatomical properties of the porcelain directly to humans. It's very similar, but the material properties are quite different. As in, usually the porcine or the pigs are usually slaughtered around 6 months, so it's very young. So it's going to be much softer, or much the tension is much lower. So as you can see, it was only about going up to 150 megapascals or something like that. But human ligaments usually go up to about 1,000. It's very high before they rupture. So the material properties are quite lower compared to humans, but as if you look at the anatomical structure itself, it's very similar because they have the cartilage, they have the ligaments, and also the bone. So it's smaller in size, but it has all the attributes that we can actually use for creating a simulation model. And that's why we're trying to use that as a process that we can introduce to the maybe for the medical department, so they can actually use it on the human CT scan and apply the material properties that they need and do the experiments, project the stability of the knee joint in the human knee joint. So it's just the process we're doing on, and we're not particularly concerned about the actual material properties yet. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, is that satisfies my plan?
Okay, thank you for the answer.
Thank you.
Okay, maybe is there any question from the participant for today's lecture?
Mr. Herman, can I get the opportunity?
Who is there? Yeah,
Dafa.
Okay. Oh, Dafa, okay.
Maybe as a beginner in engineering field, that me and my friend, I would like to ask a questions to our two speakers in this sessions. Can you give us some tips maybe for us as a beginner in this field when we are want to create a product, or when we are want to create a technology that can be very useful at the end of the day? What some tips that you guys can share with us?
Okay, for both of the speaker, Dafa.
Yes.
Who want to be first? Maybe Dr. Takeda first. Okay.
Okay. One of the how this is as a beginner or entry level engineering, I think that one of the things that you should be concerned about is keeping an eye on problems around you, because one of the problems that I've started looking around is like right now in Japan, the population is aging quite rapidly, And we're having a hard time trying to maintain this infrastructures that are being that have been built maybe years ago, and they're starting to degrade a little. So in order to manage and maintain those infrastructures, we're developing new technologies, and those technologies became very, very simple, as in using maybe how do you say, robots to actually monitor the by hitting some of the rods in the bridge, and they can actually use the acoustic emissions to actually monitor if a bolt is loosened or not, or if the structure's integrity is high enough or not. So keep an eye on questions that you find are in your daily life that think, oh, I can use this technology to improve on this problem that I find manageable every day, like an everyday task that you find really, really tiresome to do. Maybe you can find some other technologies or a certain aspect that you can add to make it a little better. And those sort of problems will lead to larger problems around you. And I think that those are the small aspects that you could be keen on keeping an eye on, that I think is a first step for engineering students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Takeda, for the advice. And Dr. Nur Zalina, maybe.
Dr. Helmi, maybe I facing problem now. It's raining, heavy raining, but I try to talk to the talk. Actually, you have to be innovative. Innovative, your fundamental must be strong. And then, inshallah, the idea will go to you, will come to you. Okay? The best, the important is you have to start. You have to start. Not just imagine I have ambitions. No, you have to start. Start from now to be a good scientist. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nur Zalina.
Thank you.
And okay, I think that is all, Dava, for the answer. Thanks for the question. And I think that is conclude our West lecture series for this day, Tuesday, 21 September. Before I give the session to the MC, I will read some of the important notes from this West lecture series. From the first topic, there is few important notes that I think it's interesting. Yeah, that's the first one is microbes. It's everywhere. 1 out of 10 cells in human body is human cell. The last is microbes. And microorganism is useful organism. It can be used by people and not only by people, but environment or ecosystem is also needs microorganism. And then probiotic sources are from the based product and other sources. For example, is the famous one is Yakult. And there are a lot of benefits of probiotics: maintain good digestion, have antioxidant properties, improve neurotransmitter balance, keep strong immune, and etc. And our digestion system is very important, and there are 6 gut killers, and that is why we have to eat cultured or fermented food. And there are few processes in bioprocess development, from isolation, pure strain, functional characteristic, and sec plus cultivation, bioprocessing development in bioreactor, and product development. And from the research of Dr. Nur Zalina, one of the conclusion is use of molasses increase the development of probiotics of other carbon sources. And for the second topics from Dr. Takeda, in the first introduction, he defined about medical device, that is instrument, apparatus, implemental, and etc. for medical practice. for diagnosis, monitor, treatment, and relief. And the focus in this topic that we can develop a medical device for diagnosis or for treatment. And Dr. Takeda present some of his research in about knee joint, how to test biomechanical testing in knee joint, and the necessary to measure mechanical properties of knee joint. And the other research is about how to diagnose blood flow caused by aortic dissection. It is including modeling, simulation, and calculation. And they measure the pressure, velocity, and velocity stress in the aorta. And the last one is maybe this is the how to motivate us to develop medical and health technology. The first one is always keep eye on the problem around you. Then you will find the problem and can develop the medical and health technology that's needed by our environment. And the second one is the keep to innovate, and you must start. I think that is all for our today guys lecture. Thank you for Dr. Zalina and Dr. Takeda for the chance to us. Good afternoon, and I will give this session to MC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Zalina Othman and Dr. Takeda for the excellent lecture today. And thank you, Bapak Hilman, for conducting this amazing session. Please give applause to our speaker and moderator by using the Zoom reaction feature. And furthermore, we would like to present a certificate awarding to our speaker and also our moderator today. Okay, this is certificate to Dr. Zalina Othman. And this is certificate to Dr. Takeda. And last, this is the certificate to Bapak Hilman Patoni. Once again, thank you very much to Dr. Zalina Othman, Dr. Takeda, and Bapak Hilman Patoni for your ability on today's case lecture series. We believe that your lecture will be useful for all participants. Now, before we end our lecture today, we invite all participants as well as the honorable speaker and moderator to take a group photo. To all participants, please open your camera. And as we have several slides, please keep smiling until we finish the photo session. Okay, we'll count until 3. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, for the last, give me your best shoot. 1, 2, 3. Okay, perfect. Now we have finished the group photo. Then for the participants, please fill the feedback form through the link bit.ly/feedback __ GLS that you can also see on the Zoom chat room. The deadline for filling the feedback form is 1 hour after we finish this session. We want to remind you the participants who will get the stamp are the participants who come on time, join this event until the end, and also fill the feedback form. And for the next week, we will have 4 interesting topics in 2 different streams. As you can see in the screen, next week we have 2 streams in SDGs goal for our quality education. Finally, we have reached the end of today's guest lecture series, and we sincerely apologize for any mistake we may have made in presenting as Master of Ceremony and Committee. Thank you very much to our honorable speaker, moderator, and all participants for the attention and cooperation. We hope to see you soon in other events in the future. Don't forget to follow our social media on Instagram at ITS International Office and Facebook also at ITS International Office and keep update of our programs. And finally, good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And stay safe all. And
Bye-bye, Winnie.
yeah, thank you very much,
See
Dr.
you.
Nurgalina, Dr.
Thank you, Dr.
Takeda,
Takeda, Dr.
Yeah.
and
Thank you
Dr.
very
Mike.
much.
Thank you very much.
Arigatou
Dr.
gozaimasu.
Takeda. Don't
Arigato
forget your
gozaimasu.
fermented food.
Thank you. Terima kasih. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Okay, bye-bye. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, allow me to end this session in 5,